Hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Connect Alley. It's my pleasure to introduce the Honorable and my friend, Steve Manos.
Good day, sir. Thank you. And this is Giovanni Huerta. Giovanni Huerta is our communications director. We've got two special guests with us today, and today's topic is going to be about the city's history. And to my left here, I have Linda Fugino. And on our right, we have Marianne Mealy.
How do you do?
How are you guys doing?
It's a great treat today. We got representatives from the Lake Elsinore Historical Society. Mm-hmm. You guys will be talking to us about the great history and the gem that we have here in Southern California, which is our beautiful city, Lake Elsinore, and all the great stuff that comes with it. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, our city established in 1888. You know, we were actually formed and incorporated before Riverside County ever existed. I'm speaking from the political standpoint because the politics is my thing. And then you have almost 140 years of history where you're basically at the right around the Industrial Revolution. There's mining happening out here. There's the railroads. There's the Pony Express. There's all these phenomenal moments in history that our city could be associated with. But let's take a step back and Marianne, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, your connection to the city, and just basically your interest and what got you into the history.
Well, I moved here in 1946, 5 or 6. Haven't really pinpointed it. And I stayed here until 1949. That was the year that the earthquake hit, that the school had to be, they had to tear part of it down. And then I moved to Long Beach and finished college, high school there at Long Beach Polytechnic.
Very cool. And Linda, go ahead.
I moved here in 1993, so I got to see the stadium being built. I was born and raised in Hawaii and went to college there. I have a degree in fashion design merchandising with a minor in art history. And out of college, I worked at a museum and then went on to other careers. But in probably about 6 years ago, before the pandemic, my mom had passed, so then I decided to do something and I had retired to keep my brain going. And I ended up with the Historical Society.
What's your position with the Historical Society?
I'm their vice president. I'm in charge of cataloging the artifacts and research.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That must be very interesting.
It is.
and you're a member of the, or are you an officer, a former officer?
No, I'm just a member. I've not been an officer. And when we moved out here, I looked up, number one, I was looking for some old friends from when I was here as a kid, and ended up the Historical Society. I still haven't found anybody that's still alive that was great with me. I did find one that was, he was 1 year ahead of me in school, but they all died. Not really. I couldn't find them.
Jeez, I'm like, that's horrible.
Oh my gosh.
So I made new friends.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I'll just add in that we both are docents there. So we formed a friendship because we watched the museum on Saturdays together.
Linda, tell us what role not only do you guys play at the Historic Society, but what can we find at the Historical Society, and where can we locate that?
Well, you are in a historic building. So this was built in 1923 as the Third Methodist Church. They had outgrown their church, which is actually where the First Christian Church is now. Before it's painted white, it was a brick building. So that's the second one. We're in the basement. So they had used the basement for after church activities. Sometimes other churches would borrow it for probably parties or such.
I heard they even roller skated in it.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. It has a
Downstairs,
stage.
yeah. It's all cement floor.
Really?
Yeah.
So for the people at home, we are in the cultural center that's located right in the historic downtown Main Street area. If you haven't seen it, it's got the big columns. It's the building with the big columns that we usually go ahead and hold our big special events at. And so that the Historic Society largely is based out of the basement of this building.
Yes.
And yeah, so I and it's very interesting, by the way.
It really is.
The few times that I've actually visited, I always see something that's a little unique where first off, I learn something, and then second off, I see something that's just, clearly a piece of history, right? I mean, it's clearly important. And so, thank you both for being
we're really proud of it.
being part of the preservation of all that history, because you just lose it if you
And there's a
don't
lot
have
of
it.
great stuff down there. I mean, in the basement, I mean, you have artifacts from Native Americans that lived here. You have historical dresses too from people that have donated them. Just endless artifacts that you have. Tell
It's
me
a
about.
wide assortment.
Yeah.
But the Historical Society was established in 1995, and this is the third museum that they had occupied. So they actually used to be.
Down where you destroyed it. But there were 4 buildings, and I think it's the third one from the corner was the one that we were in.
Okay.
What was its name?
It was the Main Street Museum. It was the late 90s.
Okay.
Whose building was that?
Jerry Harmatz was
Yeah,
the
Harmax,
realtor.
Yeah,
sense.
he let us start there, and then they moved it down here, and they had to roll everything on the street. That's when I joined. Was when they were moving everything, and you couldn't do it on the sidewalks. It had to be down the middle of the street. These cabinets, you can't go up and over bumps with cabinets, so it's just right down the street.
Wow. So Jerry, who's passed, was an amazing guy. He used to show up to the council meetings. And a very, very kind-hearted person, certainly a kind-hearted person.
Oh my goodness, to a fault.
To a fault. I
Yes.
agree. Totally agree with that.
He had a famous brother as a jockey too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Harmatz, yep.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Very well-known jockey.
Okay.
Linda, take us through the Historical Society Museum. What can we find there? Tell us about the
That's
history.
Well, we're trying to get it sort of chronological, but this area has such a large, long history. So if you go back to when this all was prior to the missions, this is all Temecula Valley, and the Native Americans would be the Pachanga tribe.
Okay.
So-
Luisleño tribe, correct?
Yeah, except that was a Spanish heading, and they no
Oh.
longer want the Spanish. That
They don't
comes
use
in-
Lozano. 2 years ago, they dropped Lozano from there.
Yeah, some of the tribes are dropping the mission
Yes.
connection.
They are different ones are losing their mission, a signature.
Oh, very interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
that was not a good time for them.
Yeah, so they're within that heading. There are about 7 tribes. They belong to San Luis Rey Mission, and so you have Pachanga, Saboba, Rincon, Palma, Palba, and then there is the Mission Indians themselves. So
And we do not have a formal display from Pachanga at this moment. We're kind of hoping to have them. What I would like to do is for them to put a display, because I don't know anything about their history or anything else. And so we've been kind of talking to them about having that too, which that they belong here too.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
they belong here.
They remind us every so often.
I was gonna say yes, as you know. Yes, they do.
Yeah, so we have manos and metates. We have some gaming stones and some baskets and things. And they were donated by various people, not necessarily the tribe. So we did have a big collection come in. It's on a 99-year loan, which are the stones that were collected between Elsinore, Murrieta, Temecula. And stuff. So a lot of people who are farmers plowing their field might have overturned a big mano and metate. And
Grinding stone.
Grinding stones.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So, but their starch, the main starch that's up from the oaks. So they would grind it, and it's a big process. Yeah. But they would have sort of a pudding.
Oh, for the oaks, yeah.
Wheat mesh would be their starch.
What was the byproduct of that?
It was kind of a pudding, thick pudding.
But that was different processes too to break down. You just don't grind up an oak too either.
Yeah. They also did other seeds and stuff, so they would come in different sizes.
And then they too, if they used them, they were nomadic too. They'd use them at one spot, and instead they're heavy, so they just bury them there and go on next spot and dig up what somebody else had left them.
Oh,
that's why they're around.
Oh wow!
So, yeah. That's why you find so many of them. People don't know that.
I didn't
know that either.
It's wise. It's like your cabinets. We got to roll them down the middle of the street because they're so heavy, right?
Oh, there you go.
So, Linda, the establishment of these, the Spaniards into this region of California, had a big influence on what Lake Elsinore is now. Before it used to be called La Laguna.
Yes. So as you get through the Spanish period, you have Mexico gaining its independence. And in 1844, they desecularized the missions. And so they're the governors who are part of the governors of Alta California were allowing land grants. In order to get a land grant, though, you needed to be Mexican, Catholic. You needed to have livestock, cattle, horses, sheep. You needed to live on the land and work the land. So in 1844, Julian Manriquez gets the land grant for Rancho La Laguna. So he names it. So it's out of Temecula Valley. So we actually, in researching, had these are diseños. So
that's his map.
Hand-drawn maps.
His map to get the...
So he presents it to Governor Manuel Michelo Torreina and is granted 13,334 acres. It's around Lake Elsinore, and it's also Wildemar. Oh. Next door to him in 1846, Juan Moreno is granted Rancho Santa Rosa. So there are two ranchos, large ones. His is 47,000 acres. But those are our two ranchos in this area without heading into Temecula. There's a couple there.
Well, so he names it La Laguna for obvious reasons, because in Spanish, the translation for La Laguna is lake.
So
yeah, lagoon.
It was not very imaginative.
No,
it had water in it at that time.
Oh, well, that helps.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been the dirt bowl.
Yes, it's going to change several hands.
Dust bowl.
The Dust Bowl.
The Dust Bowl. It changes several hands along the way. The second owner, we're now moving into 1851. Abel Stearns buys it, and at that point, we're now part of California.
That's right.
And so in being part of the United States, all these ranchos, the Californios, had to prove that they owned the ranches. It was part of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. It was supposed to be honored, but the United States kind of added extra to it. So Rancho La Laguna, Abel Stearns took it to San Diego, like you said, and he put in for the patent for it. He did it, a lot of these, it took a long time. So he doesn't receive the actual patent for it till 1872.
Wow.
So he doesn't own this area anymore. The next owner is going to be Augustin Machado. So Machado will ring a name for you. Mm-hmm. He buys the rancho in 1858. And along that time, we're part of the United States. John Butterfield gets a contract to run the mail through here. So it's the overland mail. And in 1857, he sets his son out. They map out the trail. The original trail doesn't come through our area. It goes through the desert area, higher up with San Bernardino.
Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Palm Springs area.
2 weeks before they start their first trek in September of 1858, they find that they are having water issues. So they rejuggle the bottom part of the curve, and it passes through
It
Temecula.
comes through us. Just 2 weeks ahead of, only 2, otherwise it would have gone up to San Bernardino.
Yeah, so we had part of this thing was Marianne and I researching that where people thought that the overland mail stopped was not the Machado adobe that's on the corner, the remaining adobe. There was one built by Julian Manriquez and his family. It was on Macy Street.
And most likely that was the one.
Yeah,
that was the stop.
It was torn down in 1964, 65.
At one time, we had an area called Willard,
Yes. Okay.
which we have the Willard Fault, to the name for that. It was a post office, and it was in
Manriquez.
Manrique. I could say after, and it was, but it was the post office for Willard. So it kind of follows through that if it had been the post office for the stop for the Butterfield or the Overland.
Now, is the Overland connected to the Pony Express at all, or
No,
am I
no,
jumping ahead?
No,
Okay.
no Pony Express came through here.
See, that was now that's a misconception that we can put the rest. I thought that. So yeah.
I don't think Pony Express went through here at all. That was through the middle of these states, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. There's that area where the adobe had at one point by 1860, there are 4 structures there.
Okay.
So there's Manriquez.
And this is fun too. Is show the picture of the this is the Overland wagon.
Now
Everybody thinks this is a stagecoach. It is not. It was not a stagecoach.
this is a map.
What's the difference? Sorry, let me.
The Hollywood stagecoach,
sitting up high and having the gun next door to.
Wells Fargo stagecoach. That
In Hollywood, when they made the movies of Butterfield, they had the stagecoach, which had. Okay, the stagecoach is a round bottom.
Okay.
On it.
Okay.
And the driver and the rifleman.
shotgun.
That's where the saying shotgun comes from?
Yes.
When you call shotgun, you were supposed to have a shotgun.
Well, sure, yeah.
No, take it. I'll bring mine next time.
Yeah.
But see, Butterfield said no money. So they didn't have any robberies. You know, the big shoot 'em up and how they chasing the gangsters. That didn't happen. That was Hollywood.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Feel
straight
totally
out of
ripped off.
Hollywood.
I feel totally ripped off right now.
This is your trail. It's from St. Louis, Missouri.
Wait a minute. Is Wyatt Earp real?
He's a real person.
We've got picture.
Is
This is,
Tombstone,
by the way, you do know that.
Don't break my heart. Just lie to me. It's Tombstone relatively. Please just lie to me.
Yeah, that's he was. You talk about somebody that he was his own propaganda. Anyway, he popularized Weiner, but also beginning of 2023, the Butterfield, the Overland Trail, became a national trail, and I'm a charter member of the National Trail.
Oh,
And it's only been 2 years now.
Yeah. So it's,
And also California Trail now, who is Steve Leake.
Wait a minute. Why did it take so long? I don't get that.
well, it was pushing its way through with the Obama administration.
Obama started
to market
and then
as-
Biden. Well, it has to go through all of it. And one of the things that's interesting with the money and everything else, there's a little part that goes down into Mexico. They didn't get any money for that, so we just have to put the trail through without going into Mexico.
It's only a short run. It's following the immigrant trail, but it ran from 1858 to
But we're now a
1861.
national trail. Important.
So,
I'd say so.
that trail, what part of Mexico would have gone through? Would have been
Yuma. You had to maneuver
Oh,
around.
so it would have to go through
around.
Sonora then. Sonora is the border of.
It maneuvered around Yuma. They were having.
there's a little dip there
Yeah.
and right in here.
I wonder why they dipped it down into that.
Well, probably trying
Well, it was the trail.
or trying to get
the
around
water.
the river.
Yeah, trying to get.
Yeah, it's just it's just.
That makes sense. That's interesting.
Yeah, so out of big cities, you have a regular Concord coach. When you get into the rough territory, Butterfield had, and these stages are made in Massachusetts.
And he picked this one, but he had it modified. Different things on, but this was never wagon's never been used for anything else but the overland mail.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, there are none. But we could have this built if we wanted to have one
Original stone.
It's only $110,000.
Oh wow.
We could build one, have one built
Yeah.
for
$110,000 to go ahead and do a to do a replica, basically.
Did you hear? Did you hear that?
Yeah,
We could have one.
I did hear that, yes.
We can have it built for parades.
I'm impressed about the wood wheels because I've tried bending wood before. It is not easy to do, even with modern equipment.
But better.
What they did with heat was are those leather straps?
For the wheels?
Oh
No.
Oh,
I'm talking about the actual round part of the wheels. Yeah.
But thank God for email now, because to get your mail from St. Louis, Missouri to San Francisco would have taken you like months.
Yeah.
No, this was, his contract was he had to do it in 25 days or less.
5 days here.
Really?
If not, he paid, because this is a U.S. government contract.
Yep.
So it's basically a mail run. If you wanted to be a passenger, you would ride 24/7. So there's,
And listen, if you had to go potty, you better go fast.
Yeah.
Because when they caught wild mules, wild mules, and hitched them up, and they were ready to go. And if you weren't,
Bye.
because the
Yeah.
mail had to go through first.
Wow. So imagine breaking up with your girlfriend from one side of the country to another. You're already marrying the next one, and she doesn't even know you're.
Oh, man.
There are homing pigeons that would work faster.
Funny thing is, I actually did a round trip around the country on an RV as a trip with some friends. It took us about 18 days to do that in modern vehicle.
Wow.
So those guys were not stopping. To your point,
No, they didn't stop.
They must have traded the horses out at different stops in order to go ahead and facilitate that. Then.
But but they were wild. They caught wild mules.
but they did horses too.
Wild mules. That blows my pride. These horses have never been, and the only accidents or deaths they had was from the wild mules.
Yeah.
Really?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So-
Well, they're mules.
Well, and they caught too. And what the hell are you doing with me?
Right. I mean,
Hitching me up to that thing.
So what would they carry besides mail? I mean, did they like?
It's mail.
Mail was number
and
one.
once in a while they would do passengers. Oh, at that time period, it would cost you $25 $200 for a one-way fare.
Wow.
And you paid for your own food. The way they set it up is
That's not cheap back then.
10 to 25 miles stretch would be another station.
Oh wow.
We
have
are a
book.
swing station.
Wait, what does that translate? Have you guys ever done the inflation on $205 from that day? I'm just wondering.
It's probably a small fortune, and you are riding where it's kind of
And
a tarp, so canvas tarp. You're not, and you're on like a leather swinging seat.
So much for air conditioning.
Yeah, no. And if you lost your hat, you lost your hat.
Absolutely.
They're not going
or
back
anything
for it.
else.
Oh,
Yeah.
I dropped one of my 7 kids. Oh, it's okay. We'll come back for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Imagine
no,
that.
you're kind of squished
Jeez.
together because their goal is a mail run.
Oh, that's
We
horrible.
have a book where there was a newspaper man paid to go on the first one. And fortunately, I mean, this is just full of history too. The first rider to go on it, and his stories are rather interesting.
Oh wow.
So there's just a tad going through here because we're what's known as a swing station. You change out the team if you need a repair or you change a driver. A home station is where you can stop for 15, 20 minutes for a meal. So Warner Springs would be a home station. And as they head this way, Temecula's the McGee store. between Temecula and us was 20 miles. Part of the way through this, they discovered that it was a really hard run for the horses. So in the Willows in Murrieta, they discovered there was a station. So from there to here, then here to Temescal Canyon. That's 10
Temescal
miles.
Canyon up to
Yeah, around where Tom's Farms is.
Okay.
Chino Hills was the next stop.
So all this mail stuff is great, but what happens next? I mean,
Good question.
They just get up there, they exchange mail and head back.
Oh, as far as
So-
The city.
Rancho
city,
Right.
then we go into the sale to the last owner, the Sumners, Englishmen. And that's in 1870, where am I? 73. So a lot of you'll hear the names of streets. So Sumner.
Right.
Yeah.
So they purchase, he runs sheep and stuff. Now, Augustin Machado dies prior to this purchase, and he has 12 children. He leaves the rancho to the children, which they're divided into pie shapes. So whatever shape the lake was in as that part, that's the middle, and there's pie shapes. So if you look at
Because
old
they owned
maps,
the lake. They owned the lake too at that time.
everybody but Juan Machado will sell to the Sumners. So Juan keeps his land. So that's the land where that other adobe, the Machado adobe was built. That's Juan's adobe. So we're in 18...
But he bought it 2 months before the Butterfield stage went through.
Oh, that goes back to 1858
Okay.
when
Sorry.
Dad buys it. And so he didn't have a chance, back then to build another adobe.
It takes a year to build it in adobe.
Now, I mean, I'm jumping around a little bit. Is it Willard's Folly or there was
Alber's Folly.
Alber's Folly?
That comes
Was
a little
the-
bit later.
A little bit later. Okay, I'm
Those
sorry.
are
I'm
the
jumping around.
olives.
That's
The
right.
olives. It was a brand.
Okay. I'm gonna be quiet now.
So that's kind of fun too. At least I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So we have this portion of around the lake and in through Wildemar, except for a pie wedge that kind of goes into the lake, the Machado land that you know of, all the way up to Machado Street. That is Juan. So he's Don Juan Machado, and he lives a ranching life. And his neighbor that has the rest of Rancho Laguna are the Sumners.
No relation to the Don Juan that was famous for romancing women, right? No,
I don't think so. He does have 3 sons and a wife, and that's sort of like coming to the end of your California ranching period. So
That happened with the drought in around 1900 when all the cattle died.
Of the drought.
we're coming to the end of we do have a big drought.
You don't have cattle ranches anymore. Well, when they all died, everybody with the ranches, they sold off their ranches. They couldn't keep them anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then?
And then we're going into 1883 when Franklin healed spots, Rancho La Laguna. The Sumners, because of droughts and things like that, are running into financial difficulties. So that rancho comes up for sale. And he's looking for a backer. He thinks it's going to be his uncle, but that falls through. And then he, in Pasadena, meets William Collier and Donald Graham. And they form a partnership. And in 1883, Rancho La Laguna is sold. And Margaret Collier Graham, which is the wife of one and the sister of the other, renames this Elsinore. She's a writer, and she has an enjoyment of William Shakespeare and Hamlet. So that's how we get our name. So we go from Rancho La Laguna, or during the stage time, Laguna Grande, to Elsinore. And it's not going to be till 1972 when it's officially Lake Elsinore.
That's right.
But in 18...
I still call it Elsinore.
I do too. In 1883, we go 5 years in.
Just to let you know, we're putting the lake back into Lake Elsinore.
That's right.
Lots of work on the lake.
Yes.
Sorry.
We see the bubbling and stuff.
Oh, it's beautiful what I've seen of it. The pictures I've seen of it, it's working.
So now we have a little bit of a disagreement between the partnership in 1885. And so they draw up papers and they split what was then Elsinore into Heald keeping the city of Elsinore in this part of the lake, and Collier and Graham taking where Lakeland Village is, and the other section, and a little bit later on of Rancho Santa Rosa, and forming another town.
That would be Wildemar.
That would be Wildemar. It's named after William, Donald, and Margaret.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it was
So she thought of it.
there.
Uh-oh. You are cutting part of this.
No, and I actually found out about the Wildemar portion on how it was named through the state of the city of Wildemar's last year. So they broke it down. I really did. I didn't know how.
That's
you
fine.
know, I was just Wildemar.
Yeah, so sometimes.
It's not Elsinore.
No. And so now you have the forming in 1888. They all vote and they want to become an actual city. So they incorporate into the city. And it's interesting because when they start their original city councils, they don't have a mayor. They have a president.
They have a president.
President Franklin
Well,
Heald.
How would President Manos sound? We should go back to the old days.
I hate to say it, but
Presidente Manos.
would you understand what I meant when I keep hearing about Held and all, and the way he did, well, like being president and everything else. I think he was like a used car salesman. Very serious.
Yeah.
She kind of sold lots underwater.
Oh.
You have
Literally
to think,
selling swampland, huh?
well,
Yeah.
That would flood the lake, ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows, so while it's ebbing, he said sell it, and then it flows back in.
Wow.
California disclosures laws hadn't quite caught up at that point yet.
No.
That's the problem. Yeah.
And I think that's why they split up.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
so we have
Interesting.
lots of old maps. So when you look at different time periods on the map, you will see the different shapes of the lake.
But this is a lake. Here's your map. Looks perfect now. I'm not showing you what it looked like 10 years ago. But
Right. So all this happens, and Elsinore establishes its name. Now you have a name, and you have the first African-American council member in California.
That's a fast forward.
Yeah, that is a fast forward. We didn't do the resorts in the Crescent.
Oh, man.
Let's just jump back then. No.
the black. Did you say the black resort?
No, that comes later. We're on fault lines. So Spring Street named because there were hot springs.
That's where all the hot
Crescent
springs are.
Bathhouse. So you want to talk about the Crescent Bathhouse, Marianne?
The bathhouse. I don't know anything about bathhouse.
The Crescent?
Nope.
Nope.
You're doing fine.
It's nicknamed the Chimes.
I mean, everything before I was here, she's great on. She's got it all down.
Okay, in 1887, well, Heald is building his township now. And so he's got his hands in all the different businesses and such. The Crescent Bathhouse was built in 1887, but not the verandas and stuff will be like add-ons as they move along. It's to soak in the mineral hot springs and take mud baths. So medicinal purposes for it at that time.
I don't know that they took mud baths. Somebody says that about mud baths, but there's no mud. It was the water.
It was the water, but then I thought I read in some of the advertisements. Yeah,
because I've seen the tubs, so they didn't put any mud in those. They were just regular. Well, you've seen them, the tile one that they have in there.
Yep.
I used to, as a kid, watch them sit alongside the lake and put mud all themselves. But that's not even, our lake isn't even mineral lake. It's a freshwater lake.
No.
Yeah,
Right.
but they didn't know that. See, nobody told them. So, but it was like, oh, okay, tourists again.
Yeah.
Whatever they want, whatever makes them happy.
Yeah, right. Go roll in the mud.
Yeah.
Well, just pay me.
No, I can remember them sitting alongside the vacation.
That'll be 50 cents.
If you think of
Sorry.
Murrieta Hot Springs south of us and go north to Glen Ivy.
Okay.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
all on the fault line.
Well, they
and
use the mud at Glen Ivy.
Right.
muds and
Use it at the Murrieta Springs. Use the mud. I don't think they do they?
they just refurbished. So I'm not sure if they're going to.
Well, no, I mean,
I think they will now, but I don't know if they did back then.
Well, you just get in your mind, you add mud to it, it makes you more money.
Right. That's what I'm
Because
saying.
everybody goes to Glen Ivy for mud, and I'm going, okay, I think I'll pass on that.
Yeah.
I'm not.
We're working through the 1880s, 1890s. We've got the tracks and the train coming through. So your first station is going to be where McDonald's and CVS is on Diamond Drive Mission Trail.
Yep.
There was a boxcar there.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a
Really?
boxcar. So that's the early, and
That's
then
before
Railroad
it,
Canyon got
before
it.
it came down into town.
Then it works its way down to town. So you have the Santa Fe.
Oh.
But we have very good clay here and coal.
Yep.
So the coal kind of petered out, but the clay kept going. And so building
Beautiful
materials.
clay. Just
Still.
wonderful clay. Still is.
Mhm. And also for a while, pottery
Mm.
and ceramics. So
Well,
we've
we
got
even had
different
The gold, too.
Yeah.
Good Hope Mine and stuff.
There gold mining here in Elsinore?
Oh, yes. the Good
Just
Hope
outside.
Mine.
More,
Yeah.
yeah, more
Good Hope.
towards Paris.
Yeah.
The Good Hope.
Well, we were all the same valley at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's interesting. I never imagined that. I mean, I knew about coal and I knew about
Oh, the Good Hope mine. Oh, you should hear about that.
okay.
It's really
We need to go and see if we can find something.
it flooded. It flooded. Just go scuba dive.
Oh wow.
It's
That's,
been
And it was
pretty
a-
clean too.
It was a good mine.
Yeah.
They took out a lot of gold out of it.
so then we start the chimes, and then it becomes a tourist population. I would imagine. Tell
And
me
we
about
start
that.
building. We're moving into the 1920s. So we have a pretty good, we're a city. We have a pretty good town set up with what we need. But now we've got the buildings of the mid 1920s. You've got the Cleveland Realty Corp coming in and along Lakeshore Drive where those old fashioned lampposts are. They're building estate homes. Country Club is up there.
Yep.
So Cleveland Country Club, they have a yacht club. They're building the Aloha Pier.
Yep.
It's a big pier. Eventually, as they add on to it, it becomes 2 stories, and we're known for boat racing and setting records and stuff. Not water skiing yet, because that's not
But
been
then-
invented as yet.
But then 1929 happened.
Yeah, something else gets built in 1924, and it's a boarded up building on the other side of the lake right now. The
School.
The
military-
naval school.
Yeah, it was
Oh.
built as the Southern
It was-
California Athletic
At Lake Club.
and Country Club. The architects were the architects who built Grauman's Chinese Theater and a lot of buildings in LA. They had the country club set up. They had a polo field. They had a golf course down by Rome Hill, by Corridon. They owned the lake, that whole stretch. And the
Do you
stock
know-
market
Do you
crashed.
know where Simplicity, anyway, there's on Corridon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know how Palomar cuts through Corridon? It did not before. It stopped. And right where Palomar is, was one of the country clubs.
Oh.
Golf courses, that tract of houses was the golf course.
Oh.
Really?
They sold it and they leveled it. It was hilly. And there's another one that was up. If you follow Corridon west, you go up the hill a little bit, you'll find the second one. You'll see the runs of it. You can see it on Google Map.
Oh. Okay.
So they had that all where the jumpers flying off.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was golf course.
Really?
Golf course up
Was
there?
the golf course of the Clevelandia.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And you have to imagine this is a pretty good city here because there's a lot of hotels downtown. across the street where the lot is. That was the Jones Hotel, becomes the Elsinore Hotel. There's a lot of other bathhouses. Besides the Crescent Bathhouse, there's the little one with the arches. That was the Cresswell. Huh. And there was the Ansbury. So hotels, inns, the vacant lot that overlooks on Spring Street in Limited by the police station had a huge inn with big white verandas and stuff. That was a Lakeview Hotel. Yeah, this was a place to come.
Wow.
And so then it becomes a popular destination, and then celebrities start hearing about it. Tell me about that.
They come, they visit, and then the stock market crashes in 1929.
And nobody went anywhere. And also the pottery stopped. People weren't building houses anymore, so the pottery business
collapsed.
Nobody was buying bricks anymore, and nobody sewer pipes and all. So anyway, they started thinking, and somebody got the bright idea. They followed you could say who they were.
Yeah, J. Bauer and Sons was in L.A., and they were making colorful pottery. So a lot of the Pacific Clay, Gladys McBean, L.A. Brick, they were all out here, decided to change up and go into tableware and artware. And so ceramic pottery.
Dishes. Suddenly people, they couldn't buy anything else, but they could buy dishes. And they kept their people working.
Oh, wow.
Planter pots. Yep.
And then when they started building buildings again, they started making sewer water pipes and water
Roof
pipes
tiles.
And bricks and things like that.
Yep.
And that's fantastic. But we had quite an industry of, we have examples of that down in the museum, of the dishes and the pottery that they made.
Then World War II comes, and the lake is used for multiple reasons. And I think I've read during the World War II, they used to have seaplanes kind of practice their landing here. Tell me about that.
I don't know. I haven't researched
I was going to say, I don't think as much as people think. They did build at the cannery on Spring Street. They built the B-17 wings for the airplanes. But I don't. Other than a couple of them crashing, we didn't have that many seaplanes anyway.
But then I understand that the U.S. Navy names a ship after Elsinore, and they create a boat. Can you tell me about that?
We had to go back to World War I.
Okay.
That's World War One.
That's okay. That's where it happened.
Yeah, the USS Elsinore is a cargo ship. It takes
U.S.
coal.
Lake Elsinore.
USS
Lake Elsinore.
Yeah, correct. It's a cargo ship taking coal to Europe. It was built in the Great Lakes area, and they built 7 of them. They had to be named after natural lakes.
After a lake. It was not it was named after the town.
It was named after the lake.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, survived World War I.
And we have a model of it.
So wait, when does Amy Semple McPherson's
The 1920s. So
Amy's
as
Castle, when was
they're
that?
attracting people, so she was given land by the Cleveland Realty Corporation.
It was hard for her. She built her home next to her temple in L.A. She built a beautiful home there, but she couldn't get away. So they gave her a lot, and she built on it down here as a retreat to get. Yeah, I mean, you got to get away from all of that, and there are all kinds of things like the tunnels for El Cajon, and they were just to get away from the paparazzi.
Wow.
Yeah,
There were
lots of
she
stories.
used to walk. She used to go walk down to the lake and swim across it every day.
Wow.
She was quite athletic.
Wow, across our lake here.
Yep, the one that she could look down on.
I would drown. I can't. I couldn't. Couldn't even make it to the middle of the lake.
But she was quite athletic.
She must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she did have a swimming pool up there, or was that
Yes.
built afterwards? That was.
she has a swimming pool.
So then she's one of many celebrities that have made or called Elsinore their home too. I believe the star of Tarzan too lived here. I believe it was, right?
Okay.
We have an
yeah.
early
Well,
Tarzan.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which Tarzan? Which Tarzan? There were 41 different ones.
Well, not me, because I'm like the original Tarzan. But no.
I will tell you that the first Tarzan had a house in Clevelandia. He was the son-in-law to Burroughs. He was handpicked by Burroughs, who wrote the book, by the way. And he also married Burroughs' daughter, and he was the first Tarzan, and he had a house in Clevelandia.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, we can't.
His name appears, I can't remember.
I think so.
Offhand.
Yeah, there's a lot of directors in that area. There was our state homes. So,
Oh, yeah.
So that's where your wealthy were living. But the one when you're thinking across the freeway, we haven't found any paperwork that leads to Johnny Weissmiller.
It had a big
Got
pool.
it.
All it did was have a big pool.
So then
He does come to the lake though, and visits.
That's the second. Yeah, right. That's what I've heard from secondhand. But nobody knows whether or not they actually know that he, on paper, that he did not own that house.
Oh, okay.
So he never took ownership of that or pretty much any other place in Lake Elsinore. But I think what it was is that he would vacation here and it was somebody else's house.
It was the pool, I think, because it was an Olympic-sized pool, and I figured that's what he.
Maybe he did training.
Do we? Well, no. People see an Olympic-sized pool. Anyway,
And they made assumptions. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
it was one of the myths.
So let's I don't want to run out of time, right?
We
So
got
we're
about
gonna stay on top of that.
8 minutes. Yeah.
We got 7 or 8 minutes. We're gonna have to go ahead and bump this up. Let's talk about Thomas Yarborough.
Did you know that he was Amy Semple McPherson's chauffeur?
No.
And that edifice that they built out in front there, that he built that.
That is scandalous. I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's not scandalous, but I mean that's very interesting.
That's how he kind of gets to Elsinore.
And
that's how-
Actually,
yeah.
handyman chauffeur.
And she was paying him, that he stayed here all the time, and he kind of settled in.
So for those at home that don't know, Thomas Yarborough was the first black mayor in California, not directly elected. He got elected to the council, and then the following year they made him mayor. And then right after he was made mayor, which mayor? Let's see here. It was right after that there was an elected mayor out of Los Angeles, and I can't put his name together, but he always gets the credit for being the first mayor in California, and it was actually our guy.
That's right, but he was quite a guy anyway.
Yeah. We have a period, and we have there has been a book written by a lady, Allison Rose Jefferson, who came through here and did research in our library because we are one of the 5 spots that were listed in the Negro Travel Guide,
The Green
nicknamed
Book.
the Green Book.
Green Book.
Oh, wow.
It's a safe place to come. And that's
Do you know Hattie McDowell stayed here for the Academy Awards?
I did not know that either.
She stayed here because she could not stay up in L.A. area at all, and she also had stayed here because mainly on Plummer Street. Even now, there's predominantly black, and it was a safe place to stay.
I had no idea.
so we were
and they were getting ready to build up by Four Corners. There's an area there that. What is the name of the architect?
Paul Revere Williams, a famous
Black architect.
Now, is this all in the 50s? Or what's the
60,
time
60.
period? 60s.
Well,
We're talking about 65,
Okay.
which is the end of the redlining.
Okay.
yeah, but
the red
prior to that, so you're going 40s, 50s, 60s, the Jim Crow period.
Yes.
Okay, when did Gone with the Wind come out? 38.
38.
Yeah. No, and so that book, once that era ended, that there was no necessary need for that book. But at
anyway,
that point, the travel book.
But Williams was planning. He could not have live up where he worked. He lived on Grand Avenue in Elsinore. The famous architect. He built homes for Bob Hope. A lot of movie stars, and he also learned at an early age. He learned how to write to draw upside down because he knew that they wouldn't want to sit next to him.
So he sat across from them presenting his plans.
He'd draw upside down, so because he knew that most people would not want to sit next to him.
That's incredible.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he's a fascinating person.
Eventually, before he dies, he's able to.
Well, 1965 is when they wrote that you can live wherever you want to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, finally.
Finally, after the Civil War and all that, they finally said that. And he'd drawn up the plans, but they never did finish the recreation.
Civil rights, the civil rights movement made some great progress in the 60s for certain, and there was quite a bit of legislation that happened in both the 60s. I do real estate. So, they teach all this during the licensing and whatnot. It doesn't help you sell a home, but it serves interesting information, right? Mm-hmm. The 70s furthered that with some of your some of the legislation that comes through and helps out with that. But
made fine points out after that. But 65, I think, was the
65 was the big one.
The federal one.
That's right, exactly. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's jump. Where do you think we should jump to? We got about 5 minutes left here.
Yeah, let's jump over now to
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Oh, so let's jump straight to the then and now. Right. Let's compare the then and now.
I like that.
So historically, we've advanced significantly, but from your time, being here in 1946 or 47. Tell me the changes that the city has made for better
or worse.
Or worse.
Oh, it's better. It's better. It's really hard to change. As I say, there is not that much left that was here when I was a kid. Well, my high school's gone.
Your high school's gone. Well, I understand that Elsinore High School. I mean, Elsinore Middle.
Right.
Yeah.
They had. But they had just passed 2 months. It happened during Christmas time. The earthquake did.
Right.
But they'd had legislation to build a new high school because there were cracks in it.
Sure.
Well, they were all so excited and everything else because they just knew it was going to pass, and it didn't.
Ooh. Oh wow!
It did not to redo the refurbish it anyway. Whatever they planned on doing, though. Then the earthquake happened. The cracks got bigger.
Yeah. Well, Gene Heyman closed because it was in the same kind of. Well, it wasn't not because of the cracks, but because of where it was located along an earthquake fault. They didn't want to invest.
But they didn't check to see how big the fissure was.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I heard that. Then once they found that the fissure was 17 feet sliding, they said, "We don't think so anymore." But if you ever look at the map, look at the fissures, look at the faults.
Faults, yeah.
On Palomar, from the lake all the way to Murrieta. All those houses are built on faults. You could see them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's going, I live at I said corner there. Roundup, do you know where Roundup is? Yep. Bishop Trail. I lived right there, The lot, when we first were building, the lot across the street, he was running this biggest ditch out there, and it was like, you're looking at the Luvia or something like that, but that's an awful deep Luvia and all that. Well, there's a big fault out there.
Well, so eventually the rest of the state will fall off into the ocean, and this will be waterfront.
Well, yeah, that's what I planned.
That's my long-term plan.
I lived in Corona Del Mar for several years, and I figured, well, I'll get Corona Del Mar again.
So, Linda, the then and now, the better and the worst.
Well, I moved here when we had just about 20,000 people on 93. So, I mean, I live off of Railroad Canyon. But I live on a hill, so I'll watch the water. But I
Railroad Canyon Road. Oh God, what
I
is it
see.
with the? It's not the road; it's the people.
Oh my goodness! Yes,
It is.
Thank you for that.
It's what can you improve it? Other than to make it a stop sign every 2 blocks.
No,
Make a stop sign, not a signal. Stop sign. Make people stop, but they'll still run it.
We'd have to make it scarier. Is what we'd have to make it like big bumps and make people want to slow down.
That is the most beautiful road I've ever. It's the same thing with the Ortega Highway. It's not the highway; it's the people driving it.
No question about it. Agreed. Very much agreed. And it's tough. I mean, just because of this location between the lake and the mountain, the river and the mountain. Excuse me. It just makes it impossible to go ahead and do much else without enormous expense involved.
Well, they're going to come down the hill.
What's that?
The next 5 years, they're coming down the hill.
Oh, yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of blasting.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done.
It does.
It's got to be done.
Okay, so let me ask. I have a fun question.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start here.
Okay.
Your favorite thing that you've found and discovered since you got involved with the Historical Society?
Oh. Well, actually, thanks to her, as you can see, she's got the history down pretty good for somebody to.
Absolutely.
I mean, just precisely and everything else too. I do enjoy. What do I enjoy about the?
I got you. All right, hold on.
Okay.
Here. Let me go to Linda. I'll come back to you. What you're thinking about it? What's been your favorite piece of historical information that you've come across?
It's something that sort of puts Elsinore with where I grew up in Hawaii and the museum that I had worked in before moving. When Hawaii monarchy was overthrown and it became a territory of the United States, they had to build a federal building. So there's a federal building in downtown Honolulu with a Spanish facade and roof tiles that were made out of Elsinore.
What?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Isn't that
I'm going to be doing more
interesting.
research on that, but
That's a treat. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, so that kind of links. And I always, growing up, why does that building sort of look a little out of place?
But it's Elsinore tile.
It's Elsinore tile on top of, it's not Pacific Clay or Gladdy McBean. I think it's LA Brick, but it's one of the big companies that the clays are here. Yeah, it was built in the 1920s.
So there's a piece of Elsinore in Hawaii.
Hawaii, can you bet? Then they sent all the way
There's
here
a couple,
for the
there's
beer.
a couple of
They sent all the
pieces.
way here. That was shipped,
When
railroaded,
you think of
and
the
then shipped all the way over
1920s.
there.
I completely believe that. I know Dole actually was very active in this region in terms that they used to do tilapia just out in Menifee for a long time. So there's like all sorts of like interesting history out here, from way back when.
Yeah, original.
Tilapia.
Yeah, they had a tilapia farm in just outside of Menifee, over in Winchester.
I hate tilapia. It's a bottom fish.
Well,
You know what it is to join this? I've learned the history of Elsinore. I didn't know it before. And even Jeannie Crane's book about, if these walls could talk, her whole book, I read it, and I have all these stickers in it because it's all of my family and all my friends. It was my history that she wrote this book.
Well, we've learned a lot. So thank you for joining us
You're
today.
welcome.
And
Come visit us.
I have to come and make a new trip, and I know that there's a lot of new stuff that's out there, and you guys need more space, and we're going to try to help with that in the not too distant future, right? And so thank you for coming and joining us and sharing this information, and thank you for what you're doing is being great stewards for the history of the city. Appreciate you. Genuinely appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for making us comfortable.
No, absolutely. Thank you for sharing
We
your
didn't know what
experiences.
this was going to be about. We just told to come.
That's always great.
And at 12 o'clock.
Well, that always makes for a great show. Trust me. Well, thank you so much again, ladies, for attending. And for those in TV land that keep watching this, we follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. So this is it for this segment, and we'll be back soon with more interesting topics of information that you want to know about and that you absolutely need to know about. Thank you again. I'm Giovanni Rivera Huerta, and this is
Steve Manos, and we'll see you next time.